Right here.
Oh, how you doing today?
Man, running, killing me. He coming on and
You saw me finishing my lunch, not finishing. I mean, I was starting and ending it.
when you were coming in, just running. Huh?
Okay. James, are you planning on postponing the rezoning?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because before they do their public comments, I'm going to tell them that,
Please.
just so that if they don't feel the need to speak,
Yeah.
then
Yeah. I'm waiting on the chamber on the 17th. Let's see what that.
no, that's PZD rezoning for your water.
Oh, yeah. Postponing
But
that.
you need to.
That's the agreement we made yesterday.
Okay, good to go.
Yeah. Thank you for doing it.
No, but I just want to say it,
That's
and
right.
they may not be as committed to speaking, the 20 of them.
Mario.
Wait, is that your? You have something else? Yeah. Okay. I might need one. No, not that. Well, I got another jacket. You need it?
I say something to that. My house. Need some groceries.
Just so that you're aware, I'd like to speak, I'm not going to deny you that opportunity. And then if he wants speaking, he speaks, okay?
The meeting of Shreveport City Council is now being called to order. We will have Councilman Fleury to do the invocation, and Councilman Corbin will lead us in the pledge.
May we pray? Almighty God, we come to you today with a thankful heart. We thank you for the many blessings. We ask that you forgive us of our sins where we fail thee. Guide and watch over this city, O God. Pray for the employees of this city. May you guide and give them safety as they go about their work. We pray for the administration, and I pray for each councilman and the citizens of this city. May God go with us and guide us is our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That thing was.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilman Bradford. Councilman Everett.
Yeah.
President?
Councilman Porter.
Present.
Councilman Floyd.
Present.
Councilwoman Lynch. And Councilman Bowman.
Here. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, Mr.
I would
Chairman.
second that motion.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin and second by the Vice Chair. Please vote.
And is that the minutes, including the minutes of the special meeting?
And that's
Just-
later that we have to do.
Do we have to do that separately? Okay.
Yeah,
that's
the
what I was-
committee of the whole.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
That motion carries 6. Does any council member have any?
We still, did you do the special meeting?
Yeah, we included the special meeting, but we have not included the meeting of the whole. That we have
Correct.
to do it a different time.
Any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests that they would like to acknowledge?
enough, but you guys don't want to do.
Did you have someone?
No, I just want somebody to call IT.
But, Mr. Chairman, I will, if I'm in order, that we suspend the rules and take up resolution 70. Take up resolution 70.
Second?
Second. Been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Councilman Evans. Suspend the rules. Please vote.
Okay.
That motion
Did you get it?
I'm assuming you carried.
carries 6.
Okay, now, Mr. Chairman, I would like for the clerk, if he will, to read resolution 70.
It's a resolution to recognize and thank Demetrius Norman, Apostle Stephen Newman, Reverend Danny Mitchell Jr., Queensboro progressive citizens, and many volunteers who assisted residents in the Queensboro neighborhood whose property was damaged by the tornado that touched down on April 14, 2018, by Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch. Whereas Demetrius Norman is chairman of the Queensboro Progressive Citizens Neighborhood Association, and whereas an EF-1 tornado, that is 86 to 110 miles per hour, touched down on April 14, 2018 in Caddo and Bossier parishes, including the Queensboro neighborhood in Shreveport. And whereas a tornado uprooted and snapped numerous trees and damaged roofs and other properties, the damage was a major problem for victims in the Queensboro neighborhood who do not have homeowners insurance. Many of these residents were elderly and without resources to remove trees from their homes and to protect the damaged homes from the elements. And whereas Demetrius Norman sprang into action, he posted on Facebook a request for volunteers to cut and remove trees from houses and for citizens to donate other needed items. Citizens, churches, businesses, other organizations, and entrepreneurs donated their time, equipment, and needed items. And whereas, as a result of these efforts, trees were removed from houses, houses were protected from the elements, water was provided, and spoiled food was replaced. And whereas private initiative and private giving to help those in need are essential elements in a vibrant community, and these elements should be recognized and applauded. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shreveport in due legal and regular session convened, that the Shreveport City Council recognizes and thanks Demetrius Norman, Apostle Stephen Newton, Reverend Danny Mitchell Jr., Queensboro progressive citizens, and the many volunteers who assisted residents of the Queensboro neighborhood whose property was damaged by the tornado that touched down on April 14, 2018.
Mr. Chairman, before I make a motion that we adopt this resolution, I would like Mr. Norman and those who participated with him in their efforts to come up, if they will.
While they're on their way up, I see that Ebony Mitchell, Ebony is here with them, and she was very active in helping getting some donations and getting things taken care of. So I want to tell Ms. Ebony that I appreciate her efforts as well.
Right, it was really a team effort. Okay, Mr. Chairman, just stay at the podium a moment, actually, give a remarks in a second. So I'd like to move that the City Council adopt resolution number 70.
Second. Been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by the chair. Please vote. Motion carries with 6.
Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned on yesterday, while Council District G and A mostly comprise Queensboro, Councilwoman Lynch also took the interest in what was going on in that district, and all of us witnessed firsthand
the courageous and compassionate approach that Mr. Norman took, along with those who shared in him with the concern of those who were suffering from that tornado, who did not have insurance, and who was not immediately helped. I know the mayor had immediately signed a disaster declaration, but yet it took a few days to the Homeland Security to respond and bring boots on the ground to assess and evaluate what was going on. But in the interim, Mr. Norman, you took the lead and I appreciate it, as the president of the Queensboro Neighborhood Progressive Citizens. You did not delay in reaching out to those that was in need and those who were suffering from that incident. So we want to join Councilwoman Lynch in congratulating you and certainly Ebony and those who stayed the course, even up until now. I know you went out on Saturday. I had a funeral. I was committed to come out with you, but you stayed the course, and we want to thank you for that. And this resolution that we have just read and adopted, we're going to records of the council, but we'll also make some available to you and those others who are part of that initiative. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. I just want to add on that I think that Demetrius has displayed a great citizenship, if that makes sense, as far as in Queensboro. From being from Queensboro along with you, I know that you have always spoken out and worked hard to try to keep things in order over in Queensboro. And I want to say I appreciate that effort from you as well.
Okay. So tell us, again, congratulations, but tell us how's things going? What do you see? Have Homeland Security and other resources been available to you?
Okay. Yeah, I'll answer that. And I first just want to thank you for the kind words, and Mr. Bowman. And I'd like to thank the council and the mayor and the CAO, Brian Crawford. He's very responsive by email. That's like the fastest email reply I've got in the past month or so of any professional. So I'm very impressed by the strong work ethic at the city. And thank you all for your time and for honoring us and our volunteers. Like I said before when I spoke, the biggest problem I saw was really just communication gaps. We have we kind of operate in islands in Shreveport. And unfortunately, that came out during this event where you had people working very hard, but people working very hard in isolation. Even when, because I understand Homeland Security came out that very next day, like the same day that we talked. Homeland Security had been out assessing the neighborhood, but one of the things we talk about is securing our neighborhoods. Some people didn't feel comfortable coming out. They seen people with badges. They didn't know that they were coming to assess the properties. They just saw police lights and stuff. So when we came out, we looked like them. We're from the community, plain clothes. People felt a little bit more comfortable. Their neighbors were coming asking them what they needed help as opposed to professionals. But we turned right back around and reached out to the people that already came out. So sometimes a little bit of redundancy is okay because we all have different relationships and different ways of engaging the community. So I think if we have, a closer web of communication, I think that can filter out a lot of those gaps that we have. So we're from the community, so we don't mind going, knocking on our neighbors' doors a couple extra times. That's most of what we've done. Keith Hansen really been awesome. Him and some of and Ebony Mitchell, some people from outside the neighborhood took an interest, and they came on and they provided help and resources that we didn't have. So collectively, among the city, the parish, Homeland Security, Robert Jump has also been very responsive. Him and Brian, whatever their departments couldn't do, they pointed us to the right resources. They connected us to, I think, a few nonprofits. We just got a call from the food bank earlier that's committed to provide meals for some of the people that have lost food. So, like I said, we've got the resources. It's just in our underserved communities, sometimes people are disconnected from those resources, and sometimes it's just a matter of networking. I'm a IT professional, so for my own reasons, I'll know a lot of people just from networking for my own career, and I'll just happen to know somebody I can call or somebody will refer me to somebody. But some of our underserved people that may not be working or may be working a regular wage job, they may not really have the need to do that. So, you know, a lot of times they don't know what to call property standards for, you know, if they have an issue with a landlord. We ran into some of that where I don't even think it was a reluctance of the landlord to fix it. It's just somebody stays in maybe South Shreveport and they rent a house in Queensboro and they don't live there and they, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But it was complicated as far as what the issue was, because some people had insurance. And I think that was initially people were hearing that the people they noticed they in Queensboro have insurance, so maybe all of them have insurance. And there's no problem in Queensboro. So until we posted the pictures, until we spoke at City Council last time, the news camera came out, actually saw like we still have trees uprooted laying on the houses. For people that don't ever drive through a community like that, like I said, that isolation thing, to see it and to actually see the need, I saw a major difference in response. And we had people from all communities, people in Highland and people from all over Shreveport offering, pouring their hearts out, coming to help. So it really just took communication. I hate that it took for a natural disaster to make that happen, but I am hopeful for the future here in Shreveport. Despite some of the difficulties we're having as a city, some of the challenges that we face, I see a lot of hope. Just in a way that people that don't normally even talk to each other, work together, have come together just to help, you know, fellow citizens. So I think it's a bit bittersweet, but there's a rainbow at the end of the story. And I feel closer to, you know, my local sheriff department. I feel closer to the city of Shreveport. I feel closer to our local police. You know, our elected officials. I feel closer to my neighbors from other neighborhoods. And some of these people that have never met each other know each other now, and they've met in a situation where they're helping each other. So it's been beautiful.
Well, let me, Keith, y'all want to say anything?
Sure. So I got involved after I saw all the news stories and, you know, when the cameras rolled here and all of that. And I noticed that we were working off of paper reporting from door to door. And so when I volunteered, I said, well, I can certainly canvass, you know, doing a little bit of that right now, right? And so, you know, we can get out there and knock doors and assess damage and then get the information to anyone who can help. Put all of that into a spreadsheet. We now have stats. There are 6 people still without power on the streets that we looked at. 4 out of those 6 are elderly and have no home insurance. They can't get the electricians out without clearing the limbs. We need cranes. There's a lot left to do, and we haven't even canvassed the whole neighborhood, right? So that was my part in helping with this, is just to organize the data. And then at this point, we have 40 businesses in each sector that we're looking for help from: electricians, plumbers, roofers. And then we're collecting materials suppliers, contact information. All of that's in a spreadsheet now. We're starting to call those people. One of the things I actually put in a comment request, which I don't have to do now, but I think one of the things that we could still use some help on is to reach out to these local businesses that may or may not want to adopt one of these homes and help them. Even if it's just one home that one business helps, that's what we're looking for right now, is volunteers who can get out there and cut limbs, pull trees off of houses, fix leaks, put tarps on roofs, things like that. And I have the list. We're continually building it now. Excited to share that with you guys. So.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Ebony, you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to help the neighborhood. I live about 5 minutes away from Queensboro, and I didn't even know the damage until I actually saw it on Facebook. So that's a very disconnect. And so I just wanted to help. I couldn't do any of the manual labor, but I could type up reports and letters and things of that nature. So I'm very excited and grateful that everybody came together.
Very valuable. Now I saw Amari come in. Amari, you want to come down for a second? Yeah. She also was part of the responsive initiative.
Hey, I'm not sure what I missed.
No,
I definitely want to just echo the piece that I did hear about the needs are still there. And so any visibility that can be provided, that's where we need help.
Okay.
Is letting agencies know that we need further assistance with power and elderly residents and minors. And then we have one family without water. And so those are just emergency needs.
Right.
That's all.
And Mayor, I just want to mention that the mayor and I had a conversation. We was not insensitive to the situation. The city dispatched every resource that they could dispatch within the boundaries of staying clear of any liability issues. But we have talked and agreed that we're going to have a conversation and try to develop and create some type of emergency system that outside of maybe the city preview that we could respond to those that are less in having the insurance or the other resources that would be readily available for them. So we're going to have that, and hopefully by the time, and let's pray that we don't have to use it, the next disaster come up like this, that we could be more broader in responding to this need. Now, I know the mayor want to say something, but I want you to tell us, because you guys had a couple of fundraising initiatives going. I know you had a Go Fund It, and there was another one that was coming to the Queensboro so you could assist in buying food. I saw the baskets of food you guys was buying, and water. I mean, a lot of water was donated, but before the mayor speaks, can you tell us how those that are listening or those in the audience could help or participate in what we're doing over there?
Okay. Well, let me see. If you go on, we have a Facebook fan page.
I'm sorry?
We have a Facebook fan page.
Okay.
QPC for Progress.
Sure.
Yeah, and then my website is qpcitizens.org. We have a PayPal set up. We're able to take donations directly through Facebook. Their system takes about a month to filter out before they actually cut a check, so those are much slower donations. The PayPal donations go through immediately. So we bank with Barksdale Federal here in Shreveport. So definitely, anybody's open to contact myself. I provided my information online. I provided to any city official. Our CEO, Brian Crawford, has that now, my email address. So anybody's open to contact me directly or any members of my board. Yeah. And then also, if you view our Facebook fan page, there's a donate button right there. So that's cool. And then if you want to do in-kind donations, a lot of times people are thinking, it's just money, but non-perishable food items are always a big need when stuff like this happens. That's something that we could definitely use now. Canned goods, dry goods, things like that. A lot of people brought just cases of water. If they couldn't do much, they just brought 2-3 cases. Well, that adds up quick. We got more water than what we know what to do with. If the city of Shreveport has any problems providing water, we can help y'all out. Yeah, so, but the in-kind services are so big, even volunteer hours. If we had to pay like professionals to cut those trees, that's thousands of dollars of work that we've avoided in cost that we basically received as in-kind through volunteer hours. So just, coming out, giving out a little bit of time, bringing a few canned goods and groceries. It doesn't have to be a lot, but collectively, when everybody pitches in and helps, it explodes.
Right. And we are aware, you mentioned 60 homes you think is still without power?
No, 6.
6, only 6?
Yeah, it's only a few.
Oh, wow.
That's 6 people who have been 3 weeks without power.
Okay, I misunderstood.
So 6 homes, and then let us know for sure. Let me get, I don't know if it's you or Amari that has that address who does not have.
We had some different situations, just like you was talking about the liability, because like I say, with the insurance, all those situations weren't that big a deal except for the one we talked about on Murtis, where there was a city ditch and it was a different situation. But most of even with some of the people that were insured, the insurance companies were slow. And so these people still end up losing food, even though they were going to get the tree removed and the damage taken care of. There's still a little bit of a service gap there, so they're still elderly. Now, you got some people renting, and everybody's rental situation is different as far as a landlord's responsiveness to removing a tree from the house. Right. And they may or may not have insurance, and that is a whole separate discussion that I think a lot of the communities in Shreveport really want to have at some point, is as far as what are the requirements for people that are leasing property. because there are some situations where if I'm renting a home, I'm not really able to release the liabilities for somebody to do the work, but I live in it, my kid lives in it. If I don't know how to reach out to property standards or how that situation goes, some people may be scared of retaliation from a landlord. And I think that's something where the city can kind of weigh in if we have some issues where people may not be acting very fast to deal with issues.
And that type of information, that's kind of in line with what I was going to mention is, as y'all go through this, as difficult as this is to go through, there are lessons that can be learned to make policy better going forward, and so there are situations that sometimes we're not always familiar with that are going to arise through this. And you're going to find quick ways to get through them because that's what everybody's trying to do, is try to resolve this as quickly as possible. But please make mental notes where you can, or reach out. Us as policymakers, those are the kind of things we sometimes need to hear, is what were the roadblocks? What were the things that made it difficult? What are the things that could be made better, not just for this situation, but for any other situation like this that occurs in the future? And so I would love to, we can grab lunch or coffee or something and just kind of hear some of those type of things. It's just, we can kind of help organize them and share them around to see who might have the skill set, which departments it is that could help answer those, be they city or state or whatever, whatever branch government is. Sometimes these things are more complicated than we realize until we're in a situation where it's all right there, So while it, like you were saying, there's some bright lining, even though it's hard right now, some of that bright lining can be out of preventing future difficult situations for the neighborhood as well as other neighborhoods. And like I said, I'd be happy to kind of listen to some of that, kind of help you compile it so we can figure out what needs to be done with it from there.
Our overall goal is going to be, we're going to try to increase the number of property owners in the neighborhood. And like I said, I think if we could rewind this and do it over with like maybe 80-90%, actual homeowners, I think the discussion would be totally different. So, that's our long-term, our main fix is that type of thing.
Clear titles is something that's always helpful to a neighborhood. So those type of things are things that the city knows and has made some good efforts towards kind of helping that. But it's something that I think we're not necessarily always having the community conversations about some of those things because they're not as interesting to people. Sometimes it's just paperwork to someone until it really matters to you, And now we're seeing a neighborhood that is seeing some of the negative impacts of some of that paperwork type of issue that wasn't on the front burner. And it is stuff that, now that we realize how negative those impacts are, we can work on it, And so I'll just say that to say, when you hit some roadblocks, make a note. Let's talk about it, see if we can fix that in the future.
I got you. Well, everybody's been amazing so far. So, I appreciate the effort. There was a lot of emotion, obviously, because it's a natural disaster. And everybody had different feelings as far as what should happen. But I did not see one person that was not working hard, this including our mayor. So I think everybody did what they were able to do. I think the next conversation is how do we maybe adapt or improve what it is that we're able to do.
Well, and for instance, you mentioned Mayor Tyler being responsive. I do want to point out Resolution 66, I think, on the agenda today. That's a great response in terms of what I was talking about, policy response that is a suggestion that can kind of make this recovery better, and the mayor's office provided that. That's the type of thing I think once we talk and communicate, we can get an idea from what other types of policies like that we can have in place at the ready so that the next time something like this happens, we know that's there, So anyway, I want to thank y'all both for communicating to make sure that was good.
Mayor Tyler?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I too want to applaud Mr. Norman and the rest of the volunteers and people who work diligently in the Queensboro area. I have a sister. My only sister left on my mom's side lives over there, so I did tour the area and immediately, of course, made a declaration of disaster to the governors and to GOSEP. And of course, they assured me that they would be here the next day. And they were here, but they did face some challenges. So I'd like for us to sit and talk about some of those challenges so we can craft a plan going forward so that we don't encounter some of those same challenges when there may be other disasters in our community. We had a lot of challenges, legal challenges, as well as the communication gap that existed that you spoke about. And so often when we don't know what to do with those challenges, then people suffer. And that is not acceptable to this mayor or to this administration or to the council. However, I want you to know that we'd like to craft a plan going forward, learning from this experience, what we can do. I do want to say that with your spreadsheet, if you call the 211 number that we distributed to most people that we knew, and people who were available to get that information, they're supposed to have different agencies that will help with certain areas. So use that number and tell them what your needs are and where they are. If you have that spreadsheet with addresses for those residents, let's use that number. Because when they came before the council and when they talked to this mayor, they said, we can help in disasters because we have places that we can get the help for the citizens. So please use that number and let them know what those needs are. But I'd like to, as soon as you possibly can, sit and talk with those of you who worked that area, boots on the ground, so that we can look at what the challenges were and try to be able in a position to go, if something happens again, and in Louisiana you're gonna have weather disasters.
Yeah.
Going forward, we'll know how to address those challenges on the front end instead of on the back end. But thank you all so much for what you've been doing for our citizens, and I applaud each of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
As
you.
as a closing, Mr. Chairman, and not reference you, but just reference the importance and the benefit of having strong neighborhood associations. I want the city and those neighborhoods who are not organized and having neighborhood associations. I think they need to be, and I think we need to be very supportive of those communities that are embracing the neighborhood, because I mean, we can get more things done if we organize and have a neighborhood association that could take the initiative and the lead like you did to move and help those that was in need.
That's definitely part of the plan and the vision, so I'm glad you said that. I wasn't going to pour that out today, but we would like for some of our underserved communities to be organized and established in that way and be able to collaborate and partner with our CLOs on community policing.
And that could be a part of the conversation when we get with the mayor. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you all so much.
Any other council member have any other recognitions?
Well, I have one. Maybe the most famous member of District C. I noticed him in the back. Renowned television and radio host C.L. Bryan has snuck in there, and I know he's on here to speak at some point, but good to see you, C.L. He has a home in my fine district. All right.
Okay. I did see Bishop Brandon here also, but I think he had left. If there's no other council members, then Mayor Tyler, you have any communications?
Yes, sir. We do have some people that are present here today, and I also have 2 or 3 announcements. So we'll start out with a proclamation that we're going to present to Major Ray Martin. If he's here today, will you please join me at the lectern? We're going to read this proclamation, which declares National Salvation Army Week.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Chairman, will you please join us?
Thank you, you bet.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, the proclamation reads, whereas the high spiritual and humanitarian role of the Salvation Army of Northwest Louisiana has long been an important part of life in the city of Shreveport, and whereas through its welfare and religious institutions in our area, the Salvation Army has befriended, aided, and given new hope to men, women, and children, regardless of race or creed, for over 100 years. And whereas the banner of this organization and the principles for which it stands are stalwart bulwarks, kind of a tongue twister there, for the protection of the spiritual and physical needs of our people. Now therefore, I, Ali S. Tyler, Mayor of the City of Shreveport, do hereby proclaim the week of May 14th through 20th, 2018 as National Salvation Army Week in the City of Shreveport, and urge all citizens to honor the volunteers and employees of this fine organization during this week for its work in the City of Shreveport, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused a seal of the City of Shreveport to be affixed. And I want to say congratulations to Major, and thank you all for all that you do for our city.
Thank you, everybody. I've been here for almost a year, and it's been truly awesome to see all of you working together, putting forth your not just your efforts, but really your life and all of your influence towards making this community a better place. And so it's truly been an honor to work with at least some of you, most all of you, this past year. And I know from everything from bell ringing to Boys and Girls Club to everything that we're doing in the city, all of it's only possible because of your support. So thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing to do this for many years. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a picture?
Sure.
All right.
Mayor Tyler, I thought that proclamation may have had some little mention of the bell ringing
Victory.
competition of the past few
Victory,
years.
3 years in a row, or whatever
my
it is.
goodness.
I mean, we
Wow,
could have
that is
woven
so-
that in right there.
Oh,
without
my
anybody-
goodness. Well, thank you. Okay, our next announcement and next young lady who will come up this weekend will kick off local activities for the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pageants. The City of Shreveport and other governmental bodies have all invested in making sure this is a wonderful experience for the contestants and their families. This effort is being led by Shreveport Bossier Tourism Convention Bureau. And at this time, I'd like to have Mrs. Stacy Brown come up and give us some details.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bowman, Mayor, Council. I appreciate all of you allowing me to come before you today to give you a little update on what's happening with the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pageants. They've already started arriving, so some of the contestants are actually coming in a little bit early. They aren't actually due, the Miss USA contestants, until May the 11th, and the Miss Teen contestants until May the 13th. But many of them are coming in early, choosing to experience our community prior to their competitions. So we're excited to have them. Many of the staff are also coming into town and getting ready for their first day official on the 11th. And we have a number of events, but there are a lot of things happening already to help welcome them, to make the community aware of what's happening. And we really appreciate all the great sponsors, the city, of course, being one of the main sponsors. We appreciate that. But also other sponsors. SWEPCO has sponsored. Many businesses locally have stepped up to the plate, as well as other parish and city governments. But also the Shreveport Regional Arts Council and the Downtown Development Authority and many others are lending their hand and doing something in whatever way they can to help welcome these guests. For instance, out at the airport has really been doing a lot of things to spruce up. They've got new LED lighting, and so they've made the lighting pink, the hot pink, to match the competition, welcoming them on the welcome boards. Also, SHRAC is donating art to put up on the walls. So we'll have a lot of new art out there. And Henry, thank you very much for all that you're doing to make that happen. Also, the city has supplied some banners, and the Downtown Development Authority has put those up, so you'll already see them going up around town. And welcoming the contestants and the families when they're here. So we're so excited to get them. Our local media has really gone above and beyond to help welcome the contestants and make our community aware of it. So you've probably seen some commercials on the various stations, and they have all provided those free of charge to help promote the pageants as a part of their partnerships. The city departments here at the city of Shreveport have all gotten involved in one way or another to make sure that the streets look great, the grass is mowed, the trash is picked up, and helping to welcome them overall to our community. The big event for the public at large that's free is the parade. So that is happening on Monday, May the 14th. It rolls at noon, so we're encouraging people to come on downtown, especially those workers in downtown, to come out. We've got some food trucks that'll be there at the courthouse grounds. So if you don't have lunch, there are several restaurants downtown in addition to the food trucks. It'll be right there on Texas Street from Commerce all the way down to Market. So there's plenty of room. We have over 1,000 students coming from the Caddo Parish schools, some coming from Bossier Parish. The Booker T. Washington High School Band is participating. In fact, the Salvation Army brass band is also participating, along with Blanc Noir. And this really couldn't happen without the crews. So all of the parading crews are participating, putting floats in the parade. We do have all of the contestants participating, the mayors, the parish commissions, and we really are getting a number of people very excited about the parades. One of the things we did to help raise awareness and to also help our community by recycling was to ask for beads. And we have gotten some beads. In fact, we have more than enough for the contestants and a number of others participating in the parade. So we've been really excited about that. And this will be something we'll be able to recycle into the parades for next year. So I think it's a great time. We've had a lot of volunteers come and help sort the beads and band the beads and be a part of putting on this great event. There are 5 ticketed events during the pageant, so there are a lot of opportunities for the public as well. On May the 16th is the USA Teen Prelim event, and that is at the Horseshoe River Dome. Then on May 17th is the Miss USA preliminary competition, and that is at George's Pond at Hirsch Coliseum. If you want to see all of the contestants, the prelim shows or the presentation shows are really the ones to go to. That's where you'll see all 51 contestants on stage. They will be doing a lot of the interviews and different things, so that's a time when you see all of them. The finals will be happening, the teen finals on May the 18th, the Miss USA dress rehearsal on the 21st, and then Miss USA finals on May the 21st as well. So during those, they will very quickly be narrowed down to the top 10. So another exciting opportunity to see the top contestants from throughout the country. They will be surprising us all with their these are very bright young ladies in addition to being beautiful, and we really are excited about hosting them here in our community. So again, just wanted to say thank you so much for all that you've done to really prepare our community. We've had a lot of people involved in various committees and other ways. We did have a kind of an all-committee meeting today with the different committees as well as the police forces. And a couple of the people from the Miss Universe organization were there. They were shocked. They were like, you had this many people? And I said, well, this isn't all the committees. This is just representatives from the committees. So they were really, really pleased with how we've prepared for them, and they're excited about hosting their events here over the next week and a half. Any questions?
Great. So how many contestants you think are going to be all together with the teen and the...
It's 102 contestants total. So it's 51 for teen and 51 for Miss USA, representing all of the 50 states plus the District of Columbia.
Great.
Not Puerto Rico.
Not Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stacy, if you need some more beads, reach out to Councilman Corbin. I'm sure he can help you.
He has a few. Yes, we are excited. It's going to be a great time, and I appreciate your support.
Great, we appreciate that. Thank you. We've been seeing some of the work that the city's been doing to try to help get this event started. So we
And I have to say thank you to the citizens too, because local citizens have really been doing a lot to clean up the yards and get things ready, and the city looking great.
Thank you.
And both finals will be televised, is that correct?
The finals of the Miss USA will be televised on Fox. The teen finals will be televised through the digital.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Appreciate you. All right. The next one, on Saturday, May 12th, we will hold our annual Paint Your Heart Out event. I especially want to thank Mrs. Bunny Moore and her team with our Department of Community Development for coordinating this citywide event. This year, with the help of volunteers, we will help 52 homeowners spruce up their homes by helping to paint them. And at this time, I'd like to have Ms. Marshall Nelson and I think our chairman, Mr. Paul Pratt, for this event is here today. So we're going to ask them to come up and briefly just make some statements. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Councilman, and to the Mayor's office. Thank you for all of your support. This is my first year being the chairman for Paint Your Heart Out, and from my understanding, it's not my last, and so there's a 2-year commitment. And so we have Ms. Marsha Nelson, as well as my co-chairman, Mr. Doc Voorhees. So this weekend, we're very excited about the 52 homes and over 2,000 volunteers that we have to beautify our neighborhoods. Earlier, we heard a young man and young lady talk about Queensboro. Queensboro is our targeted area, and over 7 homes will be beautified in Queensboro. But the largest neighborhood that we're going to participate is Cedar Grove, in which we have 11 homes. So from 8 to 4, and we're going to have an appreciation festival and party at the Festival Plaza from 5:30 until. So thank you for your support, and we ask that you come out and thank all our volunteers. We have quite a few of them, and we're looking forward to a great weekend. And so this time, Ms. Nelson is going to say a few words.
Hello. I just can't say enough about Paint Your Heart Out Shreveport. I'm very passionate, not only about Paint Your Heart Out, if you can't tell, but about all of the other programs that I work with as well, but especially Paint Your Heart Out. It has a special place in my heart. It's my baby. And this is our 26th year, like everyone has said, and we will be making 52 homeowners extremely happy this weekend. And I sent you all a list earlier of the houses that are going to be in your district, and I hope that you can come out and visit while the painting is going on between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And again, we have 52 houses, and we have 73 paint teams that have committed to do this on their Saturday. They could be doing anything else, but they decide to help someone who can't help themselves. We have about 15 sponsors that give us private donations to take care of things that cannot be taken care of with CDBG funds, or sponsor a house or a neighborhood. So with that said, I'd like to also give an opportunity for our co-chairperson, Mr. Doc Voorhees, to speak, and we also have something special we want to present.
Oh, I don't have anything to say. Why don't you just introduce?
All right then. Somebody's got money. Okay, Mr. Robert Renee with AT&T with a special. Can you believe Doc didn't have anything to say?
I don't believe that right there. He qualifies at this moment. Doc always has a lot.
He reserves the right to come back.
Exactly.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here and to be one of the corporate sponsors for this year's Paint Your Heart Out event. We AT&T, I should say, has a history with Paint Your Heart Out. It's a wonderful program, as you all know. And I would just like to present this check to the city on behalf of the employees and retirees and shareholders of AT&T across the globe. We want to do our part to help out and make this a better place. So,
Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
while y'all are taking your photo op, I have to say I reviewed the houses in mine, and I happened to notice that one of them belongs to a senior citizen who is one of the nicest and quickest to volunteer people in Caddo Heights.
Okay.
She shows up any volunteer day that we have, and she has the sweetest smile and the best spirit I ever saw. So when I saw her name on that list, I was
You
like,
got
oh, that
excited.
is
Oh,
great
that's
news.
good. I'm glad we
That's
could
so
help.
cool.
So you want
Hey, Robert, you're gonna have to get one of those. Robert, you got to get one of those big checks. I mean, that just isn't gonna quite get us there.
You know, the little one fits in the bank deposit box. The big one doesn't.
Thank you.
So we will pass it to you now. Thank you so much. Okay, the next announcement, but before I make that next announcement, I do want to thank all of the volunteers publicly while we are here today in City Council meeting. For those of you who are going out on Saturday for the Paint Your Heart Out event, it really, really is important, particularly for the elderly and disabled in our community. So we cannot say thank you enough to those who give of themselves and the resources to help our people who really need that help. Our next announcement is, I think Mr. Weems and the Cabosa officials are here. They will not make a presentation unless the council members would like to hear from them. We do have an item on the agenda, but if you would like them to make a short presentation, they can do that.
Well, I mean, listen, yes, it was definitely me yesterday that made that suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the plans are fantastic. I mean, I really want to commend all y'all for putting this together. I mean, for me, it's, I have a lot of enthusiasm for it, but of course I have a young child that's out there playing, so I'm pretty excited about the whole deal. Don't y'all want at least 5 minutes of fame showing? Do you have it on where you can show it on the screen, kind of a makeup, or no? They wanted to wait to do it later. Okay, very well. Disregard. Don't want to spoil the thunder.
If they want to do it today, or if you want to do it later when you make your big announcement, it's really up to you, Mr. Weems and Mr. Hughes.
And yeah, I didn't. So.
Okay.
I mean, it's on the agenda. How can you not?
It's not going to be named Jenkins Field now.
Well, I know. There goes
Chairman Bowman. I know. Y'all, Chairman Bowman, Mayor, council members. I'm Brian Landry. I'm president of the Caboso Shreveport United Soccer Association. We wanted to wait to show the presentation until we come back from the bond commission, which is what is actually on your agenda now is just to go down to the bond commission to get permission to have one article placed into the cooperative endeavor agreement, and then we'll be coming back for approval. So we prefer to wait until we come back. We can we'll have a couple of people, we'll have a couple of kids with some soccer uniforms in here and get y'all all excited. So yeah, once again, as I'm reminded, there's no public money in this, only cooperative endeavor.
Thank you. I didn't want to steal your thunder, so I apologize for that. So.
No problem.
You will vote to send it to the bond commission in June. So the next vote is to authorize us to go to the bond commission in June. And William, that's on the 21st of June?
Yes, sir.
And we, along with the city attorney, will be going down for that presentation to the bond commission.
It's a win-win.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Mr. Landry. Ms. Hughes. All right. Next announcement. I want to thank everybody who came out and supported the recent tax continuations. As you all know, we were successful in getting all 6 propositions approved. I want to thank my team especially because they worked really hard. We did probably more than 30 presentations throughout the community. And I want to thank those council members who were out there with us at some of our meetings, and they also really pushed to help us make sure we could continue to retain these resources so that we can offer good quality of life for the citizens in our city. So it was an important win for us, and I do want to thank all of our citizens who had the confidence that we're going to continue the momentum and getting things done. Now, SPAR began hosting pool open houses this past weekend for the 2018 swimming pool season. SPAR pool open house activities will provide youth and adults an opportunity to meet the lifeguards for the upcoming summer season and tour the pool facilities. Shreveport Fire Department will also conduct water safety demonstrations. Since May is National Water Safety Month, the open houses are a great way to educate our community on the importance of pool safety as well as our upcoming swim season, including swimming lessons and water aerobics. We have some open house dates. May 5th at Bill Cockerill from 11 to 1. May 12th at Airport Park Pool from 11 until 1. Saturday, May 19th from 2 until 4 p.m. at Corby's Pool. And Saturday, May 26th from 11 to 1 at Southern Hills Pool. Sunday, May 27th through from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at David Raines Pool. So we're asking our citizens if you would like to go out to these free and these activities. They are free, and so please go out and let's get educated about swimming. And our last announcement, if I can find it, last but not least, I'm excited to announce that today we were able to secure a new tenant for Hangar 40. You may recall that that's where ExpressJet was housed, and so today we are excited to have Western Global, our cargo freight carrier, in this facility to help bring about economic growth to our city and region. This creates an opportunity to employ an experienced workforce that is already familiar with the type work that will take place in that hangar. Western Global will make a capital investment of $3 million initially for tooling and equipment to support 152,000 square foot Hangar 40 at the airport. The company, which provides service to over 300 airports in 115 nations, selected Shreveport as a conveniently located and well-qualified hub for maintaining its fleet of 16 Boeing 747 and McDonnell Douglas MD-11 wide-body freight aircraft. Based in Astoria, Florida, near Fort Myers, Western Global Airlines ultimately will create 170 new direct jobs with an average annual salary of more than $45,200 plus benefits. In addition, Louisiana Economic Development estimates the project will result in 308 new indirect jobs for a total of more than 475 new jobs in Northwest Louisiana. So those interested in employment with Western Global Airlines can find more information about career opportunities by visiting www.wgajobslouisiana.com. So we are excited to announce that today, and they have already come in and signed the agreement, and we're ready to kick off and start hiring folks.
I think that deserves applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank our staff, Mr. Thompson and all of his people, and of course our Economic Development Director, Ms. Arlena Acree. We had the state working with us, but we finally got it done, so we're excited. We have a lot of activities that have taken place over the past 2 weeks in our community. I won't mention those since we have gone on and on and on today, and I have allergies. But I do want to say thank you to all of you who worked so diligently to help us with our tax continuations. That was a good thing for the city of Shreveport and for our citizens. Those are the announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. Like church announcements today. Anyone
have anything, any questions relative to property standards of Mr. Green? Wait till you get here? Sure appreciate you, Mr. Green. I do have something for, if I can ask you about it. It can be brief right after the meeting. That's fine. And we have a public hearing. It's being called to order now. Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, this public hearing is being held to receive comments and to receive any petitions opposed to the issuance of water and sewer revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $120 million. I think that the administration has a presentation.
Just briefly, Mr. Chairman, this is a public hearing called pursuant to our general bond ordinance on our water and sewer revenue bonds. Advertisement was made timely and in the Shreveport Times on April 13, 2018, April 20th, 2018, April 27th, 2018, and May 4th, 2018 regarding the issuance of these bonds or the intended issuance of these bonds. To date, the City Attorney's Office and I believe the Clerk of Council have not received any petition in opposition to the issuance of these bonds.
Okay. Does any member of the public want to speak for or against the resolution? Does any member want to speak for or against the resolution? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, we have no items to add to the agenda. I believe that we are now in the consent agenda legislation. We have people to
Public
speak.
comments. Okay, so let me first ask Paul, I did have you down here to talk about Paint Your Heart Out. You have already spoken. Do you want another shot at the title, or are you good? Okay. Okay, now we have a significant amount of public comments regarding the rezoning next to Word of God Academy. I've been advised, certainly yesterday in our meeting, that Councilman Fleury has encouraged, I'll say, negotiation between the two parties. That is, so we intend to postpone that vote today. That doesn't mean you're precluded from coming up here to speak, but if you didn't want to do it in light of that discussion, feel free to let us know and then we'll just move through that. So if I call your name and you don't want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll understand you're going to postpone at least to find out what's going to happen next. Okay. Ms. Jody Guidry. Please come forward.
My name is Jody Guidry, and I live at 10610 Twin Oaks in Keithville. My child has had the privilege of going to Word of God Academy from kindergarten through the 4th grade, which she is finishing this year. I'm a registered nurse at University Health Medical ICU, and I'm here because I strongly oppose the rezoning for the Council of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse to acquire the building next door to Word of God Academy. As a medical professional who on a regular basis cares for patients who are withdrawing from alcohol and drugs, it is a ridiculous idea to place this facility next door to elementary school. Patients are often given a multitude of drugs, including antipsychotics, benzodiazepines, anti-seizure, and other drugs as they go through this withdrawal process. Patients are often agitated, unpredictable, erratic, combative, threatening, physically aggressive, have hallucinations, anxiety, nausea, seizure, headaches, confusion, and some have to be restrained for their and the staff's own safety. These patients are definitely in need of rehab, but it should be located at a safe place for everyone. In light of the multiple school shootings, it would be irresponsible to place emotionally and physically unstable people in a facility next door to our school. We ask that you please keep our children safe. I'm asking the City Council to make the right decision to not approve the rezoning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it's Tim Euler, but I'm not 100% correct. And
On behalf of Word of God Academy, thank you. I'm the head of school. And Councilman Fleury, we just want to thank you for your work behind the scenes. We are looking forward to this discussion. Our desire is to come to a resolution. I believe can do that, and so we're very thankful for you and thankful for Mr. Chavez for his work behind the scenes also.
great, thank you. Reverend Bryant? Okay. Excuse me, got a few of these out of track. Here we go. Commissioner Chavez, Mario, oh, you're front row. Keep moving around. You know, we like people to sit in their seats. I know it's difficult. You just can't move from spot to spot all around the council chamber.
If you guys have a stepping stool, I may need one. Madam Mayor, good to see you. Ryan, Councilman. I don't see Councilwoman. Guys, I'm here today to represent the citizens of District 10 and primarily the supermajority of Summer Grove Drive. I compel you guys to represent not the bureaucrats, not the businesses, not your friends, not the people you know, but the people that elected you. I know sometimes it's hard, but I stand before you to represent the citizens of Summer Grove Drive, that I walked to each house to see how they felt about this situation, and I thought as a representation to come and tell you exactly how they felt. I wanted to go to them with an unbiased opinion. I personally am friends with Bill. Bill and I ride bikes together. I like what Cada does. But at the end of the day, I don't represent Bill nor Cada. I represent the District 10 and the citizens on Summer Grove Drive. So I went to each and every house on that street, and I hung a letter to them and was able to shake the hands of the people that were home. But I asked them this very unbiased letter, and I said, "Dear District 10 resident, I am not sure if you're aware of the proposed zoning change request to update the property that sits near Word of God School, 2810 Summer Grove Drive. But I wanted to get the opinion of the neighbors and to voice their wishes to the respective parties. Tomorrow, May 6th, 3 p.m., at the City Council meeting, they'll be voting on allowing or not allowing a zoning change in this district, and I would like to know if you are for or against the change. The request is a change from general commercial to multifamily residential to allow for a residential adolescent treatment center." That was it. Very cut and dry, not biased, not for it or against it. I asked them that they reach out to Representative James Fleury and myself. In closing, I said, please let me know your thoughts on this and how you'd like us to represent you, because I feel that's our job. In front of you guys, you'll see 6 letters of the people that took the time last night to email me back, as well as one of them that I thought very heartfelt, and I'd like to read to you. Good evening, Mr. Chavez. My wife and I are residents of District 10 living on Savannah Drive, and I would like to begin by saying how very appreciative my wife and I are that you took the time to stop by our house to speak with us regarding the council's consideration of rezoning the property on Summer Grove Drive. In 23 years, I can truly say that no other commissioner has bothered to ask us if they could represent us on a local issue, never mind actually coming by the house. So sorry that we were not home to welcome you and discuss the matter. I believe that we need more facilities and resources in our city to address the increasing need for adolescent treatment. However, I do not believe that that location is appropriate due to both the immediate proximity of the Word of God School and the single-dwelling residential area adjacent to the property. There are too many vacant buildings located in the already appropriately zoned areas of Shreveport. Unfortunately, we have to stand opposed to the rezoning and the considered property. Thank you again for coming by our house and inquiring about our wishes. So I ask you guys, all the people that were in objection to it, and I have a list. On that street, I walked to about 100 houses. 1 was for it, 11 were against it, 1 said they just didn't care. The other ones were not home or have not responded yet. So I have a list of the fors and the against, and I ask you guys to represent them and how they would like their street, their district, their city to move forward. I ask you guys personally, have you looked in other districts to see?
Okay. We have fairly strict rules about time limits up here. You're at the 3 minutes.
I can close in 10 seconds if you allow me.
Yes, we will.
In closing, I just ask that we already have a Shreveport with great zoning laws, and the UDC is wonderful. And if the zoning laws are already in place to appropriate what should be zoned, I ask that you look at putting it there. Thank you for my time, guys.
You bet.
I'm a little confused on, when this letter went out, had there already been the discussion that these parties were going to meet and this was going to be postponed, or are we to think that?
The letter went out.
I'm confused if I'm being asked to represent a voice of people on that street, if I'm being asked to represent it before or after this.
No, we discussed it that afternoon, but the letter went out that morning.
Okay, got it. Okay, so it went out before there was a discussion about some ongoing.
Mario did not know that we were trying to work out.
Got it. Now, I was just trying to understand the order of what the latest discussion was, so that clarifies it.
As of this point, 3:30 in the afternoon, the majority vote on Summer Grove is no, they do not wish for it to be there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Mr. Bill Rose.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I am Bill Rose, the Executive Director of CADA. I do want to thank you all for listening to our interest in providing services on Summer Grove Drive. I will say that CADA has a long history, 60-year history of providing addiction treatment in the Shreveport-Bossier area. In fact, just last week we had, because of our representation at the national level and international level, we had U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy to come and visit our facility to talk about all of what we talk about on a daily basis related to the opioid crisis. I've been in addiction treatment for almost 30 years, and what I can tell you is that stigma and prejudices against addictive disorders are real. Now, opioid, unfortunately, is one of those substances that impacts every aspect of this community. I did have a conversation with Councilman Fleury to have a discussion, and it's actually part of the discussion that we've had with Mr. Euler at the church last Friday about providing security. You know, we've offered to provide 24-hour security at our facility, as well as providing privacy fencing. So we're more than willing to have the discussion, which is why we took the option of postponing the vote today to meet with the citizens of the neighborhood, to meet with the church officials, the school officials, and also those that are interested in talking about work needed to address addictive disorders, but also the concerns of the community. So I did ask Councilman Fleury, as well as Mr. Chavez as well, to meet with us to have kind of a open forum for anyone to discuss their concerns and see if we can resolve those issues at that time. So thank you for your time. And
Mr. Chairman, I'm in order. May I ask Mr. Rose a question? Mr. Rose, I won't even say the contribution you made to my community for over 20 years in providing the AA classes in my facility that we still have ongoing, and we've had any issues with that. But what makes this location appealing to you?
Well, right now our children are located at the 500 block of Crockett Street. These are adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17. And just as important as their addiction treatment, counseling, education, group therapy, and school, recreation is equally important. We have 2 buildings on Crockett Street that provides no access to recreational activities. We've been in the process for a number of years of looking for facilities that could take care of those other recreational and pro-social activities needs that our children have. You know, they like to play basketball. We've participated with other organizations in sporting events. But we have to become real creative to find recreational things for the guys to do within the community. This property gives us an opportunity to grow, let these guys play basketball. There's actually a fitness center connected to the facility, plus it will house all of our residential and treatment needs as well.
Thank you. I just want to commend Councilman Florian and Commissioner for taking the approach of trying to compromise this and make it feasible for both parties. I hope and trust that can happen.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One question. So you're saying these kids are fully recovered and they are just learning new social or behavioral skills?
Well, I think the lady just got up and spoke about people that are in withdrawal. These adolescents are not in withdrawal. They are in primary treatment. Very rare do you run into a kid that needs to be in a hospital-based situation because of withdrawal services. And we can't provide those services. These guys are already detoxed. Their primary drug of choice is, in most cases, is going to be marijuana, which presents no risk of withdrawal symptoms. They're usually referred in from a variety of referral sources. On screening, we screen out any medical issues, any psychiatric problems. We look at their history of violence, any special needs that they may have that we cannot accommodate. So, when individuals come in, they are ambulatory, they're psychiatrically stable, they're medically stable. These guys are in primary educational needs for addiction treatment.
That's what I need to make sure, just clarifying. Thank you.
Mayor Tyler? Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, sir.
Mayor Tyler?
Yes.
Just for thought, I'm listening to that primary treatment, not sure I quite understand what that means, but and I know that we're going to have a empty fire station out there on Southland Park Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be an appraisal done on it, and,
Yes.
and it might be a solution to this problem. I just share that with you we might offer as a solution.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, switching gears here, Ken Kraft.
What's that?
He left. Okay. Yep, don't applaud loudly. Sammy, since you spoke up, you do have an agenda item here on number 70.
I'll go through it.
You'll move on. Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, I'll go through it.
Okay.
I was going to anyway. Yes. Good afternoon. Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport 71101. Hello, Mayor Tyler. Okay. I think this is a very wonderful idea to recognize Demetrius Norman along with Apostle Stephen Newton, Reverend Danny Mitchell Jr., as well as Queensboro Progressive Citizens, and a lot of other people who volunteered their time to help out with the residents of the Queensboro neighborhood. People had property that was damaged by this ridiculous tornado that touched down on the date of April 14th, 2018. This tornado and others that do touch down are scary and very ridiculous. As I laid in bed that night on April 14th, I was wishing and praying that nothing would take effect. When it did, I felt very bad about that for the people that have to deal with a situation like that. Thank you to those people who did step up and they did something to help out. And when we find ourselves in a situation just like that, we know that we need to reach out for a little help because we need it. Everyone who in a situation like that will need help. So once again, thank you to those who did step up and help out. I know that it was already adopted earlier, but I came in early and I started just writing away without even knowing what was going to be suspended on the situation. And I just have a way with writing and just can't wait to say something.
Thank you, Sammy. And Mr. Chair, with Councilman Fleury's support, may I suggest we suspend the rules and take up Ordinance 37, because I did see a significant amount of that group leaving. We can postpone it and then return to where we are, just so that those feel compelled. maximize their time. So I'll make that motion to suspend the rules.
Second, okay.
It's been moved by by the Vice Chair and seconded by Councilman Fleury. Please vote.
This is to suspend.
To suspend the rules, I'm sorry. And that motion carries with 5. One out of chamber.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Fleury, seconded by the Vice Chair to postpone. Please vote. And that motion carries with 5. One out of chamber.
Thank you. And we'll return to the public comments at this point. Mr. Lloyd Thompson, did he just?
He did. Just walking out.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'll give him another shot later. Okay, Paul, you're up. I remind you, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes. You're familiar right now.
Okay, Paul Pratt, 2930 North Point Drive. Again, I'm here representing Gateway Development Consortium. I respectfully ask that the council, as well as the staff, place the Bayou, Cross Bayou project onto the May 21st, 22nd agenda. This gives us an opportunity to have a dialogue so that we can push this public-private partnership along the way so that Shreveport can be revitalized in a way that mirrors most waterfront property communities throughout this nation. So our plans are to bring our partners in, our major developers, in the next week or so, couple of weeks, and to start a serious conversation on how do we move forward in developing our downtown. So again, I respectfully ask that this be placed on the agenda for the next couple of weeks. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Mays.
I also piggyback on what my friend and my brother just said, that with this project being put on the agenda, we would pray that you all would consider doing so. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to this council. We would ask that you would respectfully allow this to be put on the agenda and get more information and vote accordingly on it, because in order for us to move forward as a city as it relates to Gateway Development Corp, we asking LLC, we asking that you all would take on the initiative at this time to vote to not only discuss but to move forward with putting it on the agenda. So with that being said, my brother already came up and said enough. Just want to thank you guys. Jeff, me and you spoke about it, and some of the other council persons spoken about it, and we ask for your all support in this overall endeavor. Thank you, Councilman Oliver Jenkins, and to our illustrious mayor, thank you so much, and we look forward to moving forward in this city to make this city all that God would have it to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Craig Lee. I did see him, but there he is.
Oh, man.
Boy, that's tough, man. Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect, Shreveport, Louisiana. The illustrious Jeff Everson is my council person. I go back to 1981 with Paul Pratt. We have served in the illustrious Fair Park High School marching band, and he played bass drum, I played the snare. I was, I had to sign autographs. He didn't get much pub back then. But I am inspired by what Paul and my former attorney, Larry English, Larry, myself, Councilman Bradford, Hilary Huckabee, Joe Shine, James Pannell, Joel Smith, we have worked together since 1998, bringing forth the Fair Share program
here in the city of Shreveport, trying to make it what it needs to become, and to basically see what Paul and Larry are attempting to do right now with this cross Bayou development. I am totally in favor of it, and I definitely want the council to echo the sentiment of Reverend Mays and Paul to have this memorandum sought to be put on the agenda in May. I'm in full favor of the project 100%, but having served on the Shreveport Bossier Tourism Bureau, having Stacy here in the past, the biggest issue that we have is selling our product throughout the world. We have some challenges as it relates to our room nights, hotel rooms downtown Shreveport. We don't have a hotel that has 700 plus rooms, so we have some issues, but we still have some good things. I'm not an advocate, of course, of luring dollars to Bossier, but they have a nice riverfront development over there. We need to do the same thing here with our river. So from that standpoint, we were able to actually sell Shreveport throughout the country and other parts of the world. I think this project, especially in District B, is the right type of project. And as it relates to what we need to be focused on as it relates to economic development, tourism is that particular driving force. So we're just putting this thing together. And I thank Paul and Larry for stepping to the table with not just asking the public sector to do it, but also bringing the private-public sector relationship to the table. And again, I echo the sentiment that I am for the project, but just asking you guys to add this memorandum, this agenda, to have the memorandum placed on the May agenda. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Lloyd, if you would.
Lloyd Thompson, 1620 Fullerton Street. Just wanted to also come and say that I appreciate the idea that what Paul and his group have put together to make sure we do something with Cross Bayou. I remember some time back I was appointed to a committee to talk about redevelopment, to get rid of the blight, to make our city a city where folks want to come and spend money and enjoy themselves. So I'm supporting the efforts that they're doing, and I hope the council join in with that. And let's move on and let's get Shreveport back on the map as being a great city for folks to come here and spend money and time, and we'll be able to raise our children in a safe place. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to go to television.
And Mr. Weiner, if you would.
Hello, I'm Bill Weiner, number 2 Longleaf Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I have about 20 minutes of stuff to tell you why this is such a problem, but I don't have 20 minutes, so I'm just going to give you a bunch of little things to consider. I graduated from Cornell University Architecture and City Planning School, and I've been interested in Cross Bayou to develop it correctly for over 50 years. I've stopped some inappropriate stuff. I've gotten things done and protected it. The way to develop it to be a real asset for the city is to do it the right way, which is have a public forum where people can make a vision statement on what we want Shreveport to be and what Cross Bayou should be. From that vision statement, create a program of what we want. So many residents, so many entertainment, so many restaurants, so much housing, and so much green space along our waterway. What's being proposed is just exactly wrong, and I'm jumping back. Once we get the program prepared on what we want, then we do an RFP to developers to to build it the way we want. It could actually be done like a condominium where several properties or blocks could be put together for the development according to our overall wants. I mean, this is just a con job. These people have no experience. They're going to try to get approval, and in my opinion, then flip it and get out. But anyway, things like putting a hard surface wall along Cross Bayou, that turns it into a drainage ditch. It's a wonderful natural area. It's a waterfront. We could take the polluted place, the scrapyard, excavate it all out, make it into a wonderful marina. We could have floating piers along the walkway, connect it to trails going along Bayou Pierre, across Bayou, Cross Lake, over to Southern University in the south, going along Fayette Parkway to LSU and further, and do a network that's for the whole community. You do these things from a program from the community, not for a developer
Time is expiring,
coming up.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Good to see we had Flurry here monitoring. Okay, so that ends our public comments. Apparently, I'm going to step in here and ask Mr. Thompson to continue along with our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, we're now under consent agenda legislation. There are 4 items on the consent agenda: Resolution 57, Resolution 58, 59, and 60. A motion to adopt the consent agenda is in order.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second. Motion by Councilman Corbin, second by the Vice Chair. Please vote. And that appears to be 5 votes.
Mr. Chairman, we're now under the regular regular agenda legislation. The first is Resolution 51, finding and determining that a public hearing has been held and that no petition has been filed objecting to the proposed issuance by the city of its water and sewer revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $120 million, authorizing the officials of the city to proceed with the preparation of the documents required for the issuance of such bonds, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
Councilman Evers.
Okay, that is 5 yeses.
Resolution 61 recognizes May the 22nd, 2018 as National Maritime Day and to encourage citizens of Shreveport to celebrate this observance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fleury, second by Councilman Everson. Please vote.
I was hoping, there he is. Hoping
Give us a
Councilman
little
would,
background on
Councilman
National
Bowman would be
Maritime Day.
here to give us his impassioned plea to support his recognition of National Maritime Day.
I was actually going to quiz him on some basic nautical terms and the seafaring, jargon, but since he wasn't in here, I think it's good.
At this point, we've already cast our supportive votes.
And I
so-
did too. The motion
Chair.
carries. 6.
We are at item number
62.
62.
Item 62 provides for canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the special election held in the city of Shreveport on Saturday, April the 28th, 2018, relative to authorizing the continuation, levy, and collection of the special ad valorem taxes therein, and also to authorize the city to levy a new special ad valorem tax for the continuation and maintenance of a police 3 platoon system originally authorized by Article 14, Section 12 of the Louisiana Constitution of 1921, all for a period of 5 years, beginning with the year 2018 and ending with the year 2022.
Move for adoption, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Councilman Everson. Any discussion?
I did have a thing on the, just wanted to just briefly point out that in addition to, renewing the taxes that the voters approved, this does lower our property tax rate again. This is the, fourth year in a row? Yeah, every year since Mayor Tyler has been here, plus the previous council, I know we lowered it a couple of times as well. And so I just want to call that to people's attention that not only are we able to provide the same services that they just voted on, but also reducing the tax rate. So that is because of good management, because of good decisions. And I know that when we were out talking to people about this, there were a lot of questions about the property tax rate. It was a good opportunity to sort of talk to people and understand a little bit about what people knew and didn't know and what questions they might have, what explanations we could give as far as like how taxes are assessed, how taxes are generated, where all they go to, that kind of thing. But, one of the things that I found that a lot of people did not realize was that the city property tax rate has been reduced drastically over a number of years. Consistently in recent years, but drastically over a period of 20 years, really since the late 90s, and has gone down over 30%. So this is another measure in that continuing, and just thought it was worth pointing out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please vote. Motion carries with 6. Thompson.
Resolution 63 allocates funds to a specific not-for-profit organization for funds budgeted and other charges in the 2018 Riverfront Development Special Revenue Fund.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Councilman Everson. Any discussion? Is that all, Everson?
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Please vote.
Councilman Fleury.
Oh. That motion carries with 6.
We're now in introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to May the 22nd, 2018. The first to be introduced is Resolution 64, approves the budget for the Caddo Shreveport Sales and Use Tax Commission for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2018. Resolution 65 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and MIL Properties LLC, hereinafter called The Honor, and acting herein through Candy Moore, manager for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve American Way. Resolution 66 ratifies the authorization and provision for the waiver of permit, inspection, and other related fees for all trades for the construction, repair of properties damaged during recent severe weather, flooding, and tornadoes for all properties within the City of Shreveport. Resolution 67 dedicates space at the David Raines Park to place a memorial to Coach Rodney Gilliard and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Resolution 68 authorizes the execution of a non-binding memorandum of understanding between the City of Shreveport and Gateway Development Consortium, LLC, regarding development of Cross Bayou Point. Resolution 69 authorizes the City of Shreveport to make application to the State Bond Commission to obtain approval for a cooperative endeavor agreement and to authorize the mayor to execute said CEA and the Caddo Bossier Soccer Association and Shreveport United Soccer for the purpose of defining the use of Cargill Park along with the management and administration of the soccer programs.
Move for introduction.
Second. It's been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Councilman Corbin. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries with 6.
Introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to May the 22nd, 2018. Ordinance 40 levies and authorizes the collection of a tax of 16 0.01 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the City of Shreveport for the year 2018 for the purpose of paying principal and interest on the outstanding general obligation bonds of the city. Resolution Ordinance 41 levies and authorizes the collection of various taxes totaling 16 65/100ths mills per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport for the year 2018 in the amounts and for the purposes described herein. Ordinance 42 levies and authorizes the collection of tax of 8 6/64 mills per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the bounds of the downtown development district of the city of Shreveport. Ordinance 43 is an annexation ordinance tag number 18-01. It enlarges the limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport for the Lucian Field Estates Phase 2 subdivision development in Section 7, Township 16 North, Range 13 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana.
There a motion to introduce the ordinance?
So move.
It's been moved by Councilman Bradford and second by Councilman Corbin.
And just a note on ordinance 43, I think that is in Councilman Fleury's district.
That's right.
Okay. Please vote. Motion carries to 6.
We're now into ordinances on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, before you go to all that trouble, it is my desire to ask the council to support me to postpone ordinance 30 until the next council meeting.
Second motion.
Been moved by Councilman Fleury and second by Councilman Bradford to postpone.
Have we read it?
No.
I'm ready.
Before we even,
Do we need to?
Okay.
thank
You want to read?
Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
At this point,
to
That's
postpone
voted.
the PZD.
Yeah, it's been read to the record before.
I don't know if I can read right now. I got something making my eye water like.
And motion carries with 6.
Thank y'all.
Ordinance number 35 declares the city's interest in certain vacant property as surplus, and our intention to donate certain vacant property donated to and accepted by the community development to the Fuller Center for Housing of Northwest Louisiana.
is this number, what we?
This is
35.
35.
Remind me.
Yeah,
what-
so moved. I'm on.
Just as a point of discussion, can you remind me where these lots are?
I assume they're in my district. Hence the reason why I'm on it.
Yeah, Olga Street.
44,
Olga Street.
And
Olga
so-
Street. I just wanted to make sure. I had a question from somebody, but it does look like
I mean-
it's they're on Olga.
But
Not to narrow it down or anything.
I'm like, I know pretty much where they are, but I don't know exactly the name off the top.
Totally understand. I got my answer from the legislature.
Okay. But I noticed everybody's quiet. I was like, well, okay.
I'm waiting on you.
I mean, I don't know why. It's the city's interest. It's not Oliver Jenkins' interest in the vacant property.
Do we have a proper second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Been moved by Councilman Jenkins and seconded by Councilman Everson. Please vote. Okay, with 6.
Ordinance 36 is a zoning matter, case number 15-18. It rezones property located approximately 158 feet west of Juella Avenue from R17 Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District.
Do we need to postpone this again because the council lady is not here again?
I will make that motion to postpone since there is opposition and Councilwoman Lynch is not in her chair.
She's absent.
You want, for the record?
For the record, she's absent.
Okay,
so.
just want to make that
It's,
clear. I wasn't sure that was quite, did you spell it or anything?
Absent, A-B-S-E-N-T, not here. Number 7, been moved by Councilman Corbin, second by the chair.
To postpone.
To postpone.
Okay, I have a question, Mr.
Have
Chairman.
we had?
36.
36. That's ordinance 36.
That's it.
Okay. Now, is this administrative ordinance that you're trying to get something accomplished?
No, this is zoning.
Oh, zoning. Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Have we
It's
heard
not
much
us.
discussion on this otherwise? Has anybody?
I just see that there's
I mean,
opposition letters.
Yeah, I see the opposition letters, but otherwise, you know, and I mean, I see the attached minutes from the previous meeting, but I'm just not that familiar with this situation. I didn't know if anybody.
NPC's here.
Yeah.
NPC is here. I mean, that's not ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney?
It's ours.
Yeah.
Not ours.
I'm sorry.
It's not ours. Okay.
Are we? Enlighten us here. I'm sorry.
Yes, this is a piece of property that is across from the Calumet refinery, and the person currently has the property is the only portion they have that is zoned. C1 is a very small portion that fronts the Juela, and they're wanting to take the adjacent lot and expand that C1 because what they have now is very difficult to develop.
Mhm.
They want to develop a 4,200 square foot strip center, and if you look at each of the streets as you come down, it's all commercial zoning all the way down. Actually, this is a better commercial zoning because this is C1 to the south. Across the street is C2, and then it goes to C3 zoning, I believe. And so this is meant to give the applicant an opportunity to develop the site. What you're seeing as opposition is people are saying they're afraid there's an increased traffic in their neighborhood. And their concern is how that property is accessed. Is it accessed off of the side street or onto Juela? And that would be an issue that would be addressed under site plan review and approval, which this is not before you because that was administratively done. But that would have to be based on the city engineer as well, his recommendation as to what access points could be allowed off of that property. But as far as cleaning up the site and making it a developable site, it makes sense to make it C1.
I see.
So the letters that you got were the letters concerned about traffic.
I see. Well, I'm going to have to support the postponement only because I haven't
Fine.
discussed it with the council lady, and
Absolutely.
we want to give her the benefit of the doubt of and weighing in on this.
Right, totally understand.
Certainly appreciate the context because when you look at the map, I mean, it is right next to an
Right.
I zoning. So
I know.
C2 really doesn't seem that bad, you know.
No.
But you want to be able to hear from the
Understand.
representative, certainly, but
Sure.
it is a situation that needs some context.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What did you say? You might have the conference call. Did everybody vote? Postpone?
I need to talk to you.
Yes, sir. And the motion carries. 6.
Ordinance 37 has already been postponed. Ordinance 38 is a zoning matter, case number 17-18. It rezones property located approximately 200 feet east of Uri Drive from R17 Single Family Residential District to C-UC Urban Corridor District.
I will make a motion on this piece of legislation.
To adopt.
I will make a motion to adopt, though I don't feel necessarily compelled to vote that way. But I'm making that motion, yes, Mr. Thompson.
Second.
And I'm gonna do a few comments here.
Please.
Okay, I am
Is there a
very
second?
torn
I second.
on voting for this. But since there is no opposition to this, I hate to sit up here and think for somebody else. The people next door to these lots don't have interest in this. I'm gonna let them go. But I can assure you that if there was any opposition to this deal right now, I would be standing up here saying this is just a bad decision. But since they aren't complaining, I don't think it's my right to do that. Still like to vote against
Do
it.
you know the people next door?
I don't.
What if they're blind and afflicted and can't get here? How will you feel then?
Well, you know, I don't know how we deliver notifications to people that are blind and afflicted. Could you clarify that? How we deliver notification? I'm assuming that the adjacent property owner would have to be
Has been
notified.
notified.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I just wanted to, because you were very concerned yesterday when we talked about this.
Remain concerned with.
One of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is that in order to put in retail sale of alcohol, in order to put in a drive-through with a restaurant, in order to put in any type of facility that has to do with that, you would have to have a special use permit. So in other words, you have a safeguard in the CUC district. Even live entertainment has to be approved by a special use permit. So I want to give you some comfort in knowing that if this goes to CUC, there's several uses that would require a public hearing process and re-notification of the adjacent property owners before those uses could come to play, which you would not have in some of the other commercial districts.
Okay, and would that apply to these lots or just the lot that was housing the activity? I.e., if this was parking for a restaurant/bar, would these parking lots require this special use permit?
Because it's being used as and it comes back to whether or not it's the primary use of the property. In the case of Annika, they are actually going to replat the property into their other lots, so it becomes one lot.
Oh, it's going to be one. It's going to be one. It's going to be
yes.
One. Okay.
It becomes. It's not multiple lots anymore when they do the replatting. That's a condition that they have to do. So that's going to become one lot. So the primary use is the bank, and the parking is ancillary. So therefore, it's allowed under the CUC. The same is going to be true with the other one that you're making reference to. So that's how they take care of that. Now, if this was separate, standing alone by itself across the street, and it was being used strictly as a parking lot, it would be considered, and not part of the other lot, then it's a standalone. It's not allowed without going through a special use permit under CUC. But in this situation, they're going to be combining the lots
There's some
together.
more protections than we discussed
Yes, sir.
yesterday in
Yes,
terms
sir.
of this evolution.
Yes, and I wanted you to understand that so that I know you were uncomfortable with this approach, but there are some safeguards built in along with the site planning safeguards that do protect the neighborhood.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to my initial statement. I still have some concerns, but I'm not going to think for anybody else. If somebody was arguing against this, I would certainly be in their favor. But in this case, I'm stand on my. Is this a church? Right. Okay.
And call for the vote, please vote.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to ask you about my other issue
Motion carries with 5.
afterwards.
Ordinance 39 is a zoning matter, case number 18-18. Rezones property located on the northwest corner of Lyon Avenue and Dazelle Street from RHU Highland Urban Conservation Residential District to C-UC Urban Corridor District.
Now, I have a quick question about it. Just the building we are talking about. Is this a tenant of? So initially, when I read this, I thought it was the building next to it, the one that is like a brick building. But I think this is actually referring to the one on the hard corner, which is like a strip center. It has like a couple of different suites in it.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I understood. This is that property, right?
Yes.
And is this applicant looking to change? I mean, we're looking to change the zoning of the whole thing.
Yes.
And this applicant is going to be occupying the whole thing, or the other businesses are okay to exist in there?
Well, the other business,
under the
because
music?
the other stuff is zoned to CUC, and this will actually complete the puzzle, because when we came along here and looked at the zoning,
Well, it leaves a gap in the
it
middle.
leaves a
doesn't
gap,
it?
but if you put the CUC there, it actually fills in the gap. So that's the intent, was that they could do that, complete that line of zoning, and get their church operational in an existing facility.
Okay.
But it appears there's a lot missing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's the one that I mistook this when I read it, but didn't see the map. I thought it was talking about
Well-
the building next to the north of it.
No, there is, you're absolutely right. There is a small lot that is missing, but that applicant would have to come in at some point in time if they wish to do that, but they have not shown to want to rezone their property at this time. But you're right, there is one small lot left in the puzzle right there that would make it continuous. It's only the southern lot that is the one that's being rezoned.
Okay. Okay. I mean,
Somebody could contact them and suggest them it's an opportunity for, would they have to pay for that?
Yes, yes.
I got you.
I mean, I will hesitantly make this motion. I'm comfortable with it, but only barely. But very comfortable.
It's not as bad as mine, but I understand that.
Well,
none of us are comfortable today.
In my district, I know it sounds kind of funny, but like there are a lot of small churches, and churches prohibit other type of uses around them, and so having a frequently placed small congregations can cause other property to not be developable or usable as it otherwise the market would
Understand.
see it be. But that's not the decision we're making. We're making the overall zoning decision, and I think overall the zoning decision is an appropriate decision.
Okay.
That's
Understand.
So you so move.
He's moving.
And I second the motion.
Moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Bradford. Please vote. That motion carries with 6.
Those are all of the items on the regular agenda. Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware that the item on the table agenda, there's any desire to remove it. There are no appeals today.
Any other reports from?
Officers, boards, and committees.
And Jack, I would like to have a proper standing meeting the day of the next meeting at 1:30.
Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday. Is that clerk's report?
We have none, Mr. Chairman. I have
Any additional communications from the mayor?
No, sir, thank you.
Any council member have any additional communications?
I was,
Get on the board.
Get on the board.
Councilman Jenkins.
I'm on there first. Where is the debate? Where is the debate, gentlemen? You want to speak, you press a button. Now, hey, I sent some information about potential ITEP considerations. I did get one person's feedback. Like I said, I'm not necessarily committed at this point to moving forward with actual legislation, but I would like to at least get some feedback on A, whether anybody's looked at them, B, what they think about any in particular, and or, you know, if for some reason we are faced with one to decide in the near term, we could use it as at least something to discuss around. So, if people will just take a look at those and provide any feedback. Like I said, you know, obviously there's a lot of bigger issues out there at the state now and how they're gonna deal with this and how they're gonna move forward. But I do feel like we're in a time now where somebody is actually about to apply or has applied or may have applied to the city for all we know. We don't know that as a council formally at this point. And I would like to at least have something in our pocket that we could use to evaluate it for the sake of starting the discussion. As I said, I don't think we're at the point where I'd propose any formalized legislation around it, but having some kind of rubric to at least dialogue around, I think is prudent at this point. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Bradford?
Yeah, did Mr. Sweeney leave?
Just walked out.
I need to catch him. I was gonna ask Mr. Epperson and the clerk and Mr. Sweeney and I meet for about 5 minutes after the meeting, maybe in the conference room in the back. And in addition, can anybody, Mayor, tell me on that incident that we discussed yesterday, I don't want to discuss it again, but what district did that happen in?
I'm not sure.
It's between mine and yours, I'm not for sure.
You think so?
And which incident are you talking about?
The one with
For Sunday?
the kid, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
It's between
We
us.
don't, we'll find out.
Okay, yeah, just let us know.
Okay.
I think it was more on your district, but it was between mine and yours.
Okay. I can't find that information out, but that's all I have. That's it.
Next, Councilman Everson.
Just wanted to, neglected to click in during the reports from officers, boards, and committees, but just wanted to give a quick recap of the Master Plan Committee. We had a meeting on Friday, and we discussed a number of items, among them some of the ongoing discussions about wireless telecommunications. Obviously, we voted on the small cell. There's still some ongoing discussion on the macro towers. We got a little bit of a recap of some of the discussions at the intergovernmental committee. We talked a little bit about some of these sort of trends in housing that are that we get questions about. Sometimes we got some clarification, and we'll follow up with some additional kind of public dialogue regarding things like tiny houses, modular houses, things like that that we get questions about, but we don't necessarily always have clear answers. So it was kind of a helpful informational discussion and presentation. We talked a little bit about the My Government Online, which I think most people are probably somewhat familiar with. I know the city is doing some due diligence there, and we just kind of updated the members about what that was. And then we talked a bit about the MPC Chamber of Commerce Town Hall meetings. The next one of those is scheduled to be at LSUS on May 17th at 1 p.m. And it looks like during that meeting there will be some responses shared. So that was one of the things we thought was significant to make sure that we are paying attention to those responses. I know it's something that's being discussed a good bit, and we wanted to make sure council members were aware of that. And we set our next meeting for Friday, June 8th. And that was about it.
Councilman Flores.
I just want to let you know that the music in the park, Southern Hills, was absolutely outstanding. I thank all of the city departments, Mayor, that went beyond the call of duty to make that a very successful day. And thank you for coming and being there with us, and just looking forward to bigger and better things ahead.
Mr. Flora, and if you're not comfortable responding, I understand. Now, I saw on the Channel 3 news at 12 that there was an incident in your area. Matter of fact, almost on your street and house. What was that all about?
Yeah, we had a shooting next door about 12 in the morning. I want to say there that I thank the mayor for. I reached out to her to try to find out what was going on. It happened about 12:05 in the morning, and it's some investigation going on. I won't say a whole lot about it today, but it was scary. They had about 7 bullets that went in the house. One of the bullets went in the refrigerator, and they found the shell casings right there close by. And we do have cameras outside our home and cameras across the street for security. Apparently they knew not to come down the street, so they just pulled in off of Barrett. And several people in the neighborhood heard the shots. I mean, it was just real frightening. And so, but Mayor, thank you, and Chief Crump for reaching out to my family.
Councilman Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Councilman Jenkins' comments earlier reminded me of this. I think I had asked this at the last meeting, and if I've got a response on it, I apologize because I've been busy the past 2 weeks. But do we have any idea when this next round of ITEP requests are coming to us? I know that the sheriff and the commission have already taken them up, and I think the school board has.
It was my understanding that Charles provided the clerk with all of the information regarding the Calumet applications at least a month ago. I'll follow up on that.
Provided us with it?
That's correct. Because the council ultimately has to make the decision. That information should have been forwarded to you from the finance department. I'll find out.
Which further plays back to our prior discussion of why is Charles on the committee and not somebody from the council or somebody also on the council, since we're the ones that actually have to take action on
And
it.
honestly, why does it come to the city and not to the?
I agree with that, and there hasn't been another committee meeting since that request, and that was something that Charles was gonna provide information to the council on, to have someone representative from the council at that meeting.
Perfect.
There hasn't been another one.
We're getting there. Okay, thanks.
Good idea. Seeing no other councilman to speak, go down to
Public comments?
comment.
Sammy Mears is gonna lead us off.
Thank you. Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport 71101. And thank you again for me being here, to our Mayor Tyler. And just to say that on Friday, May the 4th, I was going about my own business as I usually do, going grocery shopping, reading a magazine, and then eating on Uri Drive at Cece's. But then when I got to Sportran, I waited for the 26 number Uri Drive bus to come. I went inside and saw De Niro Washington along with Mayor Tyler, and saw a few people there. One person I recognized pretty quick and said, "Wait a minute." So I walked over to De Niro and to Mayor Tyler and didn't interrupt at all, because I knew that interruption is a no-no. You don't interrupt people when they're talking, because that's ridiculous. Now, one person told Senator Cassidy that Sammy had wanted to say hello before catching the bus. He shook my hand. We met for the first time, which was all good, and then it was pointed out to him that I always attend the second and fourth council meetings here at the chambers. And then it made me think that during the time I was there, life could be humdrum, but you feel stupid when you become a dum-dum. And that's exactly what I did, Mayor Tyler. I apologize for that. When I didn't say something when I should have, I felt stupid. Hope you can forgive me.
Of course.
Okay.
I don't know, Sammy.
Well, she just said, of course.
Well, I forgive you.
But anyway, we all could make a mistake like that, but today I'm making up for that to let her know that I apologize for being stupid. Because stupidity will get you nowhere. But it was a good day. I just think that I was very happy that I got to let him know that I'd come to the meetings. The one thing I did not do, and I'm glad I didn't, was say something about Mel and Flo from Alice, because I don't know if he would have ever seen the TV show Alice. But if I had, I would have said, "Stow it, Flo, kiss my grits." Then he might have understood. We'll just have to find out maybe another time. But if I meet another person anywhere in Shreveport, I hope it's Governor Edwards, or maybe if Jim Cramer makes an appearance from Mad Money in Shreveport, that would be a shocker, and I might just faint. Oh yeah. Booyah.
Freddie Ashola.
First and most importantly, I think we have got to give a hand to Sammy. He's awesome. I just met him for the first time today. He's great. And I apologize for my ridiculous attire. My team and I have decided that I'll be spending the next 80 days living as a homeless person because of what I went through at CCC. Additionally, we want to start a university catering towards the homeless to start businesses for them. When I was 12 years old, I had the opportunity to travel to Lagos, Nigeria with my father. Within 3 hours of being there, the police put a gun to my dad's head demanding money. February 8th, when I was at Word of God Ministries under the leadership of Pastor James A. McManus, whom I used to work for, I was arrested by Corporal Watts, placed in handcuffs for 2 hours. When I let him know that my arms and my shoulders had gone numb, he said absolutely nothing. I let him know at least a dozen times. When I was taken to LSU because I was acting ridiculous because of the treatment I was experiencing, 6 officers shoved their elbows into my throat and injected what was called a B-52 injection into my thigh to get me to calm down. When I was then sent to CCC, I was placed into a torture chair where a Joshua Rapolo pointed at me and laughed at me as I went through my misery. The reason I'm up here today is because I witnessed the video of the 16-year-old boy being accosted by what looks to be an Officer Thomas. I simply wanted to express that I hope we're doing everything we can to remove sadistic officers. I vehemently protest my taxpayer dollars going to an officer who treats individuals like that. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Mr. Craig Lee, I'll let you go first. We'll let Pastor Mays second this time. Switch the order a little bit.
Craig Lee again, 1112 Prospect Street. Echoing what the young man just talked about, there's a video, if you have not seen it, that has now gone viral about a police officer who has just went out the box on a young black male. I don't know what community is Councilman Bradford was talking about. I know our great police chief has already put the person on suspension, although paid, if I'm not mistaken. Years ago when I moved back to Shreveport, Queensboro was pretty much a war zone. I lived, Jerry and I both come up in Queensboro. I lived on Frederick and Milton, and on Alabama we had this drugstore, and it's not like Walgreens or Rite Aid, but it was a drug store called Expressway Grocery Store. They sold drugs out of that place, and drug dealers would stand on the street daring people to move them out of the way. Neighbors, elderly neighbors were afraid to come out. And I went to several community meetings, and elderly people were afraid. And so the first thing that they were going to do, of course, is call the police. A lot of police officers, of course, majority at that time especially, were majority white. No sensitivity training, no cultural diversity training. So when they're coming into the black community, they're already coming in with negative mindset based on what they've seen or perceived. And so at the end of the day, you had a lot of issues going on. When Willie Bradford and I first started working together in '95, we had stopped the violence throughout the entire city. And where we were going, our people were killing each other. So you have no cultural diversity on the police force, and we're killing each other. So there's a heightened sense of disrespect that's going on. We had a meeting at the old building for the city council, and everybody was complaining, and I specifically said, how many of you are coming to city council meetings to deal with sensitivity training so that the police officers won't have to come in and bust heads? And needless to say, that never happened. My suggestion is that the Shreveport Police Department, Police Chief Crump, usher in cultural diversity training, sensitivity training, because there are people on the force who have no understanding of dealing with these situations. And what you had in that video is a grandmother trying to use the police department to discipline a hard-headed child, and that situation could have gotten real, real bad. And that's where you have things on both sides. This is what's going on in school. My son is now the national spokesperson for Students Against School to Prison Pipeline. You can shut up. But at the end of the day, I would like to finish this if you can extend a little bit more time.
So this is for extension of time, Jim.
But this is a serious issue, because as we're talking about promoting Shreveport, we can't have incidences like this going on as it relates to it. And as I stated, my son is the national spokesperson for Students Against School to Prison Pipeline. And what schools are doing, what some of the parents are doing, is trying to use the police department, the sheriff department, to now do discipline. And these things can go real bad real quick. So from that standpoint, I applaud Police Chief Crump, but we need to do a better job as it relates to cultural diversity training and sensitivity training. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Pastor Mays.
Pastor Mays, 10398 Buncombe Road. Just briefly want to piggyback on what's already been said, what Craig just got through saying. And to you, Mr. Bradford, thank you for all that you all are trying to do to make this city equal and fair for all. I arose to say this. I thank Chief Crump for the fortitude that he had to be able to look and to see the conduct of this particular officer and firing him at the time. The problem that I have is a problem with the Civil Service Board, who decided that they was going to reinstate the officer from which you had the fortitude to decide that this person does not reflect the Shreveport Police Department. And I commend you for that. That's bravery. And the Civil Service Board decided to reinstate this individual. It is a known fact that in the African American community that there are officers that use their authority and abuse African American men. That's just a fact. I had spoke with Mr. Thomas about sharing a couple of videos with you guys that shows and dictates how we are treated and talked to as African Americans, period. There was a young man, Bishop Charles Daniel, was at his own house, and the video clearly shows what took place with him. He was punched, hit in the face, all because one of the officers was called or was riding through the apartment complex and decided that he wanted to take the initiative to look at his car. So when he asked him, am I under arrest? What are we doing wrong? This officer took the fortitude to grab him by the neck, and they wind up punching him and beating him. You know, this kind of behavior should not continue to go on. That's the reason why year after year I have been down here and going to continue, because I can't see police policing police. I think this brave chief that he took the fortitude to say, hey, this guy has abused someone in Bossier City and he does not deserve to be on my department, because we are trying to be conclusive for everyone, and we're trying to build relationships, Madam Mayor, and thank you for hiring him. We're trying to build relationships rather than tear them down. So it's a lot of people that's not going to be for what I'm saying, and that's okay. That's your opinion. Thank you, Mr. Bradford, because we have a chief, an African-American chief, who's trying to do the right thing, but it's going to take all of us. And that's why it's so important to have a citizens review panel to come in, because when the chief is overruled, the Civil Service Board reinstated this young man back to the job. So we have what we have. And the sad reality of it is those who are not affected by it tends to close their eyes to it. But I thank you, Mr. Thomas, because I wanted to present a video on today. I have video recordings, and to let this council see, if you was in that position, would you want to be talked to the way these young men are being talked to? You wouldn't want that. So you have served, Mr. Thomas, years of dedication. I did some research on you, what you have done. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, well, correction. I'm sorry. Well, he know exactly who I'm talking to. So we want to negate from what I'm saying to him, Mr. Thompson. So that we want to negate from what the seriousness of what I'm saying. I followed your record and spoke to some people that know what you have done in the past, and I commend your work. And I don't come here just to be coming here. There is a problem within the city, and hopefully, and thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. There is a problem within the city of Shreveport, and the only way we're going to make it better is that we got to work together and bring police. It's not white, black anymore. It's blue. Thank you very much.
Okay. And then Joe Carstensen.
How you doing? I'd just like to add on to what a couple of the other people said regarding this most recent incident with the police, and then also it being a typification of a general and pervasive problem. How many police are there on the force? 550 or so? It is logistically impossible for the police to enforce the rule of law by means of only force. They depend to a great extent on respect and loyalty. And this is not becoming of a group of people who want to be respected. Young people and families have got to be able to look at the police department and legitimately respect them and do what they say. That's not how you earn respect. And one more thing, it's not just black people. White people are abused by the police as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
That's all we have on public comments at this point. Mr. Chair.
Councilman Bradford is up to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ascertain, is the chief here?
Yes.
Yeah, the Citizens Police Academy, is still being recruited for participants?
Yes, sir. We just actually not long had a graduation from the Citizens Police Academy, so they are still actively recruiting.
You know when the next class is going to be?
They may have an age limit, but I like the way where you're going with this.
No, I mean, seriously, I went through the Citizens Academy. I know you did, Mr. Floyd. Anybody else here did? You did? Okay. My point is that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, I mean, my point is that I think citizens who have an opportunity to just go into the academy, there's a component that you ride along with the officers, and you can see firsthand some of the policing techniques and protocol that is going on, and I'm suggesting that those who can and would like to get more hands-on experience, you can see the issues within that parameter, but that does not dismiss what we saw, and you agree with that. And I'm just saying though that we need more overall participation in boards, committees, that the citizens can get more involved and more knowledgeable of a lot of things that are going on in the city, and not wait until something happens and come out to the city council. That's the model that I took. Okay, and I'm just saying that I think getting in, going through the academy will enlighten a lot of persons on actual what's happening on the streets.
Yes, sir. Well, that if anyone is interested, 673-6950 is the number to the office of our Community Oriented Policing Bureau.
Right.
And they can call there and find out what the qualifications are for being able to be an attendee at the Citizens Police Academy. But I agree with you, it is an excellent tool, and having been in that division once before, and having put on the Citizens Police Academy as well, has been an eye-opening experience just from the interaction with certain citizens once they actually find out how some things are, just the volume of traffic that comes across the radio, the variation of calls and the different things that officers respond to, that citizens encounter. It is an eye-opening experience, and then that enables that individual who communicate with people that you and I may not ever come in contact with. They could actually clear up some misunderstandings. But I also agree with you. The video is what it is, and there's no way to try to explain down what it captioned. And so we are dealing with that. I want to assure you that. But as distasteful as someone may think it is, or however it may sound, there's a protocol, there is due process. And what I try to do and have tried to do since I've been the chief of police is follow that protocol to make certain that we are following the steps in place, so that when it does make its way to civil service, hopefully it's something that cannot be overturned. So the decisions that I make pertaining a lot of times to discipline, especially a termination, I'm either usually communicating with Attorney Bradford or Attorney Joe Woodley, who represents us, to try to make certain that we are following the steps. And again, I know sometimes that may not be the microwave answer that people are looking for, but we do have to try to do what's right. And I don't want to violate somebody's rights or to make a knee-jerk decision just to quiet an issue down and then have to deal with something on the backside, because that would be my fault too. If I didn't follow protocol, then the excuse would be that they were able to remain or charges couldn't be filed because chief didn't follow protocol. So I'd rather be looked upon in a strange way following protocol and hopefully to get to the proper end result than to jump ahead of that and then have another issue on my hand.
Richard, that's true in professional behavior. I mean, you can't, I mean, your issue, if your statement is correct, that I saw that, you're gonna make sure if this gentleman violated policy and training, then there's accountability there. You know what I'm saying? So you go by the same standard. You don't want to react improperly or unprofessionally and do something without, again, ascertaining the total view and understanding of what went on there. And so, I mean, we applaud you for that. But at the same time, I'm just saying that those type of behaviors has to be eradicated. And then I'm encouraging citizens who will to see if they can go through a session of the Community Policing Academy, and I think they'll get, again, a better understanding of what the street officers are facing, patrolling is facing.
And I would like to say, though, that would be a choice. We offer that the same as we do the auxiliary police officer side of things, but someone would have to choose to apply. We can offer it, but we cannot demand that upon anyone. Nor
How do you offer it? What avenues?
We have a sergeant that is actually his title in the Community-Oriented Policing Bureau is the volunteer coordinator.
Okay.
And actually what that is the Citizens Police Academy. He is responsible for recruiting individuals to participate in it, also for the auxiliary program, and even if we are able at times to get enough people that are willing to go through the training that police officers go through to work as reserve officers, but we actually have a officer that's designated for that specific task.
And what means does he use to recruit?
The universities, when they go out to different places, he also accompanies when CLOs, we have community events or night outs. He usually go to those places too and try to communicate with people, pass out information.
Okay.
Also advise them of the information that's on our website, that if people are interested in being involved and knowing what's going on, those opportunities are there. But I will say this too, that because of the nature of it, and you having gone through it, know that because of some of the information and the sensitivity of some things, there is a vetting process, background investigations, those things that go on in order that we at least have some kind of idea of who's coming in and being made aware or brought into the knowledge of certain things relative to police operations. But it is there, and we welcome citizens to make themselves aware of what is going on, and hopefully that would, if someone takes the time to explain something to someone instead of fueling the flames of something that is really not resolving anything, then you really don't accomplish much. So jumping on social media and making comments about doing harm to police officers and this, that, and the other. Every other police officer on the Shreveport Police Department or anywhere else has absolutely nothing to do with the decision that officer made at that particular time. So for someone to be angry at that officer and make broad threats about harming another, how is that solving anything? Okay, and so there is a process, there is a way, and what I would really like is that the same enthusiasm people show for wanting me fired, wanting the police, this done to the police and that done to the police, they should have that same enthusiasm every day, because that's what I try to do. I don't get excited just when something appears to supposed to make someone excited. I try to be consistent in what I do and how I display myself on a daily basis. And if something is a concern, it ought to be a concern all the time, and not just when it's something that might promote a cause that I'm trying to push just for the end. And I'm speaking as that in general, not into anyone in particular. I'm speaking that in general because I see it a lot. And not in any kind of way trying to discount what we do. We hold to a high standard. And I've been blessed and been fortunate for the 26 years that I've been here, and the decisions that I've made, they've been according to protocol, and the facts have bared that out. But when we look at instances, it should anger someone that one citizen unjustifiably attacks another one. It should really infuriate people the same way when it's not justified, and should be driven to try to find ways as a community, as a city, that we could work together to make a difference there than just making everything the police chief's fault.
I agree. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate those remarks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Great. One last thing. Sorry, Chief. You sent us an email just now that said relative to the comments, but what you sent that absolutely no action item. It's not at all relative to the issue that we're discussing relative to ITEP, by the way I said. Because that email deals with the overall Don Pearson's program and LED, not anything relative to.
Correct.
I'll check to see if I have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, because the one thing that was sent.
No, that's not it. I just spoke with Charles Madden. He delivered a package with a cover letter on it over a month ago to the council
Okay,
office.
got it.
With the Calumet information. That's what he just provided me.
Okay, gotcha.
With the
He
cover
had sent
letter.
something, and I'm like, that,
Right, right.
okay. That's all I want to make sure
Wasn't
that.
in an email.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interject. I just didn't want to think
Gotcha.
that we had the information, because we still do not. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Mr. Crawford, you say we have a cover letter?
According to Director Madden, he walked down to the council office and presented you with a package of the Calumet application with a cover letter from his office over a month ago. I'm going to check with Charles in the morning to make a duplicate of what he provided you, and so I can get with you in the morning, Mr. Thompson, and make sure that we got misplaced or whatever.
We'll check our mail log in a few minutes.
Sure. Thank you.
That's all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You ready for this?
No, I'm not, because at this particular time, I'd like to,
Resolve ourselves into the committee of the whole?
yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's made by the vice chair, seconded by Councilman Corbin to resolve ourselves to committee of the whole. Any discussion on that? Please vote. Sorry. 2 carries with 6.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of April 19th.
Been moved by Councilman Corbin and seconded by Councilman Everson to approve the minutes of April 19th. Please vote. Motion carries with 6, and now we'll reconvene back into the regular council meeting. If there is nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Well, I just got an idea. I want to show you John Saddlefield is necessary to wrap on this concern time. And includes,
Sorry, I couldn't get your call last night. I was in my father-in-law's birthday party and just swamped after that.